Rev Richard Coles has spoken out in a new interview about his sadness since hearing about his rushed BBC Radio 4 departure. Rev Richard Coles, 60, has admitted feeling frustrated after news of his departure from BBC Radio 4 was quietly announced 5 days before his final show. The broadcaster has spoken out on his rushed exit and shared how he believes the BBC should have handled things in a new interview. Richard hosted Saturday Live on BBC Radio 4 for 12 years but will present his last show this Saturday. This follows the BBC's decision to move the weekly programme from London to Cardiff, with Richard and his co-host Nikki Betty being given the choice to relocate. While his co-host took up the offer, Richard declined, with the news of his departure being announced yesterday. A major announcement was not made as the BBC was in talks with Richard about his involvement in future projects on Radio 4. However, speaking to The Guardian, Richard has shared his disappointment that the news hadn't been announced in its own right, or shared sooner, given that the decision was made weeks ago. He said, "If you leave a program after 12 years, a gentler process would have been nice. But what happens happens. It just feels a little bit rushed. It's been frustrating for me, having to wait for an announcement, and now it's my last program on Saturday. I'd rather have had a long goodbye to listeners." As the news of his departure has not been publicly announced, the member of the clergy admitted he has not received a single message from fans. He admitted, "I haven't heard from any listeners yet. I don't think it's been on Twitter or anything. Perhaps people just think, oh well. It just feels a bit sad. I'm sorry to go. I've loved the program. I've loved the people I've worked with, and it's been a big part of my life. I shall miss it." Richard's departure was flagged in a brief note in an email to journalists accompanying a press release, with his departure failing even to earn its own dedicated announcement. In Richard's original statement, shared by the BBC, he said, "After more than a decade on Saturday Live, the time has come to do something different. Spend some time on other projects and get my weekends back. Don't miss